Hello and welcome to the Carbitrage podcast, episode 115. I am Eric Berger, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Snitsky. Hello, sir.
Hi, actually, I am Ben Stein.
Well, today you are because you're sick.
Yeah, I've got a cold, so I just sound like Ben Stein. I'm
If
sorry,
you want
everyone.
to work in more of his mannerisms, I'm actually totally okay with that.
I'll see what I can do. It might happen more in episode
16.
116 once I'm more in character. But
All right. Well, I look forward to the next several hours that we will be in front of these microphones. So.
yes, and then I'll be in a monotone voice the entire time.
For dry red podcasts, there's Carbitrage.
instead of having Darren begin the podcast next episode, let's go. Darren, Brooke.
Adamson.
All right, where's
Adler.
Darren Brooke?
Here. That should be his intro.
Yeah, I know, right?
Anyway, before we start up on topics, I just want to quick plug our Patreon, since that is now the thing I do at the beginnings of the episodes.
Especially since I'm Ben Stein.
Yeah, so I'll just handle this bit. Patreon is a crowdfunding sort of way of directly supporting content producers like us. Basically, we've got two levels. We may expand to more in the future, but we've got $1.50 a month, and we have a $5 a month level. Both of which are detailed and laid out on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/carbitrage. Feel free to head on over there and just check it out, even if you don't feel like doing anything for us. We'll keep doing the podcast either way, but I'm still going to keep hammering it in. So there you go.
Yay. All right. So, I'll start out with my first topic here.
Sounds good.
This actually is not a story. This is a story. It's not a news story. This is a story what happened to me in real life.
Well, tell me, Ben.
Well, so we had a customer. I work at a Volkswagen repair shop, for those of you who are new and haven't heard. But we have a customer that brought in a 23 window.
Oh, like the Samba, whatever.
Yeah,
the big valuable one.
The $120,000 one, which
Yeah.
he got at Meekum in September, which was actually 120, I think 5 after.
Actually seems like a pretty good deal for a 23 window.
Well, we found out quickly why it was 125,000.
Oh, okay.
The brakes went out immediately.
Oh, nice.
First drive,
Don't need those.
steps on the brakes, and he's like in traffic, and has like the ultimate butt pucker, and
And let's preface that. I mean, the brakes on that thing when they were new weren't good.
no, this 4-wheel drum, it's single circuit.
Yeah, and it's non-power assisted.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going for it. So yeah, this guy blows out. He has the brake line that blows out. Has to engine brake it and yank on the parking brake. And gets down to about just under 5 miles an hour when he meets the car in front of him and just puts a dent in his front end, which is fine. But it's one of those things where if he'd been going 15 miles an hour faster, he would have probably died.
So I'm imagining the bill was pretty steep for the brakes, but I assume after you guys worked on it, or before even, it went to a cleaners and was steam cleaned for all the feces that were in the driver's seat, right?
Yes, it was steam cleaned before we got it, and the
Okay,
bodywork's not been
that's good.
sorted.
Okay.
But it was still the most expensive vehicle we've ever had in our shop. I think actually at its exact moment in time, it was probably the most expensive valued car I've ever driven.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, when do you ever drive a car that's actually worth more than 70, 80 grand?
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. That's what I was thinking about. It's I've driven a 930, but it wasn't a turbo, but it was
so it's probably an
super clean.
$80,000
Yeah, it was
car
an
or something.
$80,000 car. Several Maseratis, but they're, they depreciate the second you get them. So
That's a
they're all
$12,000
Yeah, they're
car.
all $12,000. All the Mercedes I've driven have been not at their peak value point when I've driven them, but they've
Okay.
later gone up in value.
Is that? I think I choose to believe that is not only correlation but causation.
Yeah, it's because I drove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
So-
is causation.
As soon as you get a Trans and Blubski, you should drive it once just so it explodes in value.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. That'd be wonderful. All right, so anyway, I'm driving this, and he says, yeah, the brakes don't really work. He says it like that, euphemism and everything, don't really work. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pull it in. I pulled into the shop because it's beginning to rain, and I don't trust these weather seals from California. And I step on the brakes. I've got a technician in front of me. I've got an Audi S4 in front of me, and I've got a alignment machine in front of me. All these things are worth a lot more than, $5,000.
The technician, even?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm pulling on the parking brake, and the parking brake's barely working. I come to a screeching halt within inches of the Audi S4 in front of me.
Well, at least you knew where the parking brake was and how to actuate it.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was the one that was driving it, because me and one of the really old technicians, Brian, are the only two people that know anything about the early type ones.
Right.
Like intimately, I should say, because I mean everybody knows about him, but like we're very familiar with him. Anyway, so we get the carp in there. I forgot what's going on with the brakes. Somebody had so when the car was being restored, it looks like what I assume happened was they were running behind schedule and they rushed through doing the brake system before they could get it to auction.
What do you mean? Just like no new wheel cylinders, no new master.
Wheel cylinders everything was brand new, but like they hadn't adjusted anything.
Oh, yikes.
So brakes were like totally out of adjustment. The wheel bearings hadn't been set properly, so the wheel's like almost ready to fall off.
Nice.
And then
Are those like the castle nuts and the inner outer? Yeah.
Yep. And then the brake line that goes from the top wheel cylinder to the bottom, because it's got dual wheel cylinder front brake.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool actually. That's what they did for front
I've never
brakes.
heard of that.
Yeah, so you have a single cylinder in the rear, and then on 4-wheel drum cars you have a dual cylinder up front. And they have this kind of like S-shaped brake line that goes through it. Well, they had bent this brake line down just a little too much, and it went under the clip it was supposed to go into, not over it. And the wheel bearing had shredded through the brake line, and
so
that's what
the
caused
leak
the brakes. Yeah.
And not only that, even if they were working a little bit, now the brake linings are completely drenched in DOT4. Mm-hmm. No longer working.
Yeah, no. But we got it like working quickly, so he could just bring it back to his quote unquote toy box, in which the guy owned. I'm not even kidding. 14 Porsche 356s, half of which had Foreman quad cams.
Oh.
Yeah, dude's got a lot of money. He didn't like.
Does he have that warehouse in Northeast or Minneapolis?
Northeast,
Minneapolis?
yeah.
Okay,
Russ.
that's super nice.
Yeah, Russ. He's a super cool guy.
I didn't know he had a 23 window.
He just bought it.
Oh, well, there
So-
you go. That's why.
But yeah,
Tom
he
knows him really well, I think.
yeah, he's a really good guy. He's like super duper nice. He reminds me of my Uncle Ralph a lot.
Still have yet to meet him, but
Yeah,
from the stories I've heard, I think that is accurate.
just like the dude's maximum chill at all times. The dude like just doesn't have a worry.
Oh, yeah, man, that's cool.
And as my friend Bjorn said, once you collect wooden boats, you officially have too much money.
Yeah.
Because he's got a wooden boat collection as
Oh,
well.
I didn't know that. Actually, I did know that.
Yeah,
Because they're in a separate part of his warehouse.
yeah, they're in the
And
closet.
they're all immaculate.
Yeah, and they're like he's like world record holders like from like the 1930s and stuff. It's all very very cool, very
I'd like
neat
to actually
stuff.
go there. I can't remember. Was it Nick maybe that was telling me?
Yeah, he does a open house in the spring.
Okay.
So when he
I
does
should
one,
go to
I'll invite you. But
that. Yeah, we should go there.
that's on my short list of my favorite car collections in Minnesota.
That's fair.
It's a very good
I mean,
collection.
it doesn't have much of a breadth to it. It's all the same exact thing, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it is that, but it's like saying somebody has a Ferrari collection, and it's not just a bunch of Ferrari 360s and
Who is
360s
the,
and 308s.
Who's that British television presenter that has an enormous collection of Ferraris, but they're all white? It's the old Top Gear host, that Chris Evans guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got just a massive collection of really
white
rare
Ferraris.
Ferraris, and they're all white.
Yeah, weird.
It's just super strange. Like, you should just get him in Rosso Corsa, but he wants to be different. So something
That's
like
fair.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that's.
it matches his house, I
I
guess.
don't like him though.
Yeah,
Russ is much cooler.
yes, but Russ is a very cool guy.
I
Anyway.
agree. Well,
So yeah,
that's
nothing will pucker your butt like a $100,000 car with no brakes at all.
yeah, like none. Do they make a retrofit dual circuit master cylinder you can put into those things?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you totally can. Like you can totally just like get like a dual cylinder master cylinder from like a 72
Okay.
or so, and then it'll
Oh,
just
so
bolt
even
right
later
in.
on they had it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but then you have to like redo every single brake line and everything. So it's
Right.
like,
I was actually just before you came down, and well, just before I went out on the deck and started drinking beer, I was working on the O2.
yeah,
I got my brake flaring tool to work, so I was making hard lines,
yeah.
and I got everything plumbed in, filled with brake fluid, no leaks.
Okay.
Then I put 5 pounds of pressure on the system.
And then it exploded.
And no, in the front left, hard line started leaking at a junction. So I replaced that. And now it's holding 10 pounds right now, no leaks. But I have no fluid flow through the clutch circuit, and I have no fluid flow through the rear brakes.
So it's probably plugged up from like old trash in there.
Yeah, probably.
Take
so,
a air hose and run that right up into the line and just blow it out.
Yeah. Yeah, the only problem is my wheel cylinders don't have bleeder screws on them anymore.
No. You take the line off the wheel cylinders on each side.
Oh, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, because I mean the wheel cylinders, fucked. The wheel cylinders fucked. It's a lot bigger of a deal if it's the brake hard line itself going underneath the car.
Yeah, luckily those are new now.
Yeah, so
that helps.
I'd see it, maybe that's got blockage somewhere in it, and if it's not, it's a wheel cylinder, which, oh my god, you can totally just get those at literally any AutoZone, so.
I can't find wheel cylinders for my car. They don't
Seriously?
exist. They're not 2002 wheel cylinders. They're unique to the 67 1600.
Surprise.
Yay, go me. And I wish one of the disc brake rear retrofits would work.
And they don't?
I run 13-inch wheels, so even the Volkswagen
No way,
one, it's
yeah.
like some 13s, and these aren't on that list. But what I'm actually thinking is happening is the rear brake soft lines are not stainless steel, and the front ones are. So I think the rear ones are swollen shut.
Oh, yeah, take those off
So I'm
and
just
just
gonna
blow
replace
those out
those.
as well.
Well, if they're swollen shut, you have to replace them. But
Yeah.
like, it's super common on old cars.
Yes, it is.
So, like,
well,
people
also,
misdiagnose it as like seized calipers all the time. I'm like, no, your brake line just failed.
yeah, well, another thing that happens is, like, just from all the shit that's in the brake fluid, it'll all collect up on that.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's the
Especially a
same.
car that hasn't been on the road in 12 years.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, like, just unbolt it and just blow it through.
Yeah.
And then if it blows through and doesn't leak, then you know.
But
like,
I have front brakes.
Yay, it's almost drivable. It's so
Right?
close.
It's so close. Like, I have to put the throttle body on it, and then I've got to like finish wiring the Ford EDIS4 ignition controller under the passenger seat, and then that's pretty much it. So it's getting there. My friend out in Michigan, he runs a website and a shop called Classic Daily.
Yeah.
Jake, he works on a lot of E30s and E10s.
Okay.
And I convinced him that the Honda K Series was the future of BMW swap engines. So, last week, he went and found an Element being parted out in Michigan, and he bought the motor out of that thing. So now he has a K24A4 sitting in his shop, and he said he's going to make a mount set and a pan for the E10. And that's his first priority, and then after that, he'll probably make it for E30 as well. So, I am curious to see how quickly he will do that. He seems super jazzed on this, so if he does it
the
quickly...
E10 is the BMW 2002 692.
Right, yep,
Yeah.
so that's what I've got downstairs. And honestly, if he finished his mount and pan set before I got that running, I would put the K
Yeah, totally.
in the 1600, so...
That'd be a perfect engine.
Which is why I'm working on the brakes and clutch right now, and not
the
engine management system. I mean, I've got like $800 into that engine harness,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you have a way cooler engine swap.
Right, yeah, the K is great. But he's like, why don't Megasquirt the K? I'm like, dude, it has IV tech. You want somebody that spent like $1 billion tuning the ECU.
Well, not only that, it's really not that hard because you can get Rywire. They make K-Series tuck harnesses that will go into pretty much any car. And then you just get another K-Series ECU, and then it'll just bolt right on.
You can, kinda. Because, yeah, the Rywire harnesses are based on, like, the K24A2
Yeah.
and the K20A, whatever the Type S
Yeah.
RSX is. And those don't work straight up with these engines.
Okay.
And I've done an unfortunate amount of research on this just because the Element and the Accord share the same harness and the same computer. It's a PND, I think.
Yeah.
And that works with K Tuner, but not K Pro. So the best option I've found just for cost effectiveness is to run the stock Element or Accord computer, the stock engine harness, and a K Tuner.
Okay.
Because the full K Tuner, it's a drop-in board essentially for
Yeah.
the ECU, just
Yeah.
like K Pro is, and it's like $800 with an ECU core. So like it's really not that bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
And then like there's no more immobilizer, and you've got like the factory tune, so it works. And then
Yeah.
you can also modify things and like run a turbo later, because he's planning to make 400 or 500 horsepower turbo.
that's
on
that's
his.
what you're making on Brexit, and that's like way too much for you.
Way too much. And this is a car that weighs 1,800 pounds. Like if I get stock Element horsepower out of that, which I will,
Yeah, it'll be insane.
plenty. Like that engine there is a pretty healthy 1.6, and it makes 100 horsepower.
Yeah,
So like
and that, as opposed to
Like
like it's
160
like
or
170 or
170,
so
and
out
like
of the Element, because the Elements you have like the most detuned one, and you can actually
Right.
get more power just from switching intake manifolds and doing stuff like
beauty
that.
is, my Element engine, the one I took out of Senior,
Yeah.
is an A3, not an A4, so it's an Accord motor. So it's
Yeah.
a little tiny bit better.
So what you can do with that actually is the RSX Type S intake manifold.
Yeah.
I forgot what that's. It's
I
a-
actually have to buy a Skunk 2 intake manifold because it's the only one that has a plenum you can flip the other direction.
Okay, as I say, yeah, because the RSX one, that one actually adds quite a bit of power.
Yeah,
So, and then the
I've
Skunk
been
2.
told you can put the K20A VTEC actuator on it and tune it out because you can't run the full advance
Yeah.
on the K24. But if you run the better actuator with like 41 degrees of total advance or whatever, like you can get a lot of power out of those. I think it's just better to do the hybrid, putting the K20 head on it, but at that point you got to run a ported like RSX oil pump on it, and just I just want a stock. Like I love the fact that it's an Honda Element engine.
Yeah, no, you're gonna make plenty of power, and if you really want, you can go a full Honda guy on it and totally fuck around, and with like just a bunch of stock parts, like double the output.
Because I'm guessing like just like I'm gonna have to make some custom exhaust. I'm going to have a really really good flowing intake manifold and big throttle body. Like that engine should make almost 200 horsepower. I'm guessing.
Oh, easily,
even
easily.
with the stock Element cam in it.
Well, that's the beauty of the K
Accord.
series. That's why K series has taken over like everything in the Honda world. It's just like you can make just ludicrous amounts of power on them with very little effort.
Yeah, I mean, I read like the threads. I'm like, even if you don't swap the head, like you can make 240 horse with a K24. It's like valve springs, cam, VTEC actuator, and a tune.
Yeah.
And like
It's
that's
like
about it.
Yeah.
And like obviously supporting breathing mods, but
yeah, it really does not take anything at all to make power on these cars.
I
And
do
even
not know why everyone doesn't put Ks in everything.
This is actually the reason why, and this is why I have a B series for Jana's car and a D series for my Civic, is because up until the last 5 years, it was way cheaper to get B series stuff, and now B series stuff is like next to free. That's
really?
why.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, no, I can get. So when we do Jana's,
Surprising.
when we do Jana's engine swap, I need to get a exhaust manifold. I want to get a better one because I just have an eBay whatever on just to like have it run. But when I get a decent one, I can get you know the Bisimoto exhaust manifold that they made for the H series that was like totally ridiculous, looked like a knot of pipes.
No, I can't say I have seen that. But
Oh, maybe throw it up on the screen for.
you said H series?
Yeah, Bisimoto H series exhaust manifold. But basically, this is a H series exhaust manifold that was like $1,000 back in the day, and it was dyno proven to give like 25 horsepower on a 160 horsepower engine. It's like pretty insane.
This one?
Yeah, like that. So basically, there's a company called PLM, and they do.
Image location, there it is.
Anyway, so PLM does replica exhausts of discontinued exhausts, and they make a version of this for the B series.
Do they run the same firing order?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like this, but just adapted to the B series.
Sure.
And that is $400 for that.
That's a pretty good deal.
That's an insane deal for that, basically.
I assume this is equal length.
That is actually an equal length, yeah. And that was actually dyno proven to give like 20, 25 horsepower depending on the engine.
Because we're talking like 1.8 liter engines.
There's 2.2 on the H series, yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
still.
but I was talking B series.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is on the B series and everything, like it does scale. It provides like something like 25% more
the B
power.
series spins so fast.
Yeah. So that's something with the B, and then also when we do the carburetor,
I like the B series.
we do the carburetor setup. Like that's by far the most expensive part because the
I've never seen a B in an Accord.
Yeah, it's because they don't make sense for any other Accord other than the first 3 generations.
Because they're light enough, or what?
No, because after the CB generation Accord and on was actually closer to a Prelude than it was the Civics and Integras, whereas the 3rd generation Accord is this like weird, like kind of hermaphrodite of like Integra and Civic like put together. In the first 2 generations Accords were basically just a stretch Civic.
Okay.
So it wasn't really until the 4th generation where they got like basically a Prelude sedan out of it. And so, yeah, that's why you never see Accords with B series swaps because you put a B series into an Accord, you suddenly, you make, more horsepower, but you have such a drop off in torque. Your 0 to 60s takes a shit.
I mean, you could always. Well, I mean,
You
NA
can.
with carbs would be cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I'm doing NA with carbs on the B series with the 3rd gen because that makes sense. There are swap kits available. All in with carbs and everything, it's $1,500.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost nothing I can buy from my car that's that cheap.
Yeah, I should say I did build the engine previously, and that engine itself was also probably about $1,500 worth of work, and that was 11.5 to 1 compression bottom end that was used that was known to be good. Blueprinted cylinder head, CRV camshafts, CRV cams came out of a B20, so they're actually a little bit larger cams. So they're equivalent to like a Stage 1 cam from Skunk 2.
Stage.
Well, because Skunk 2 is Stage 1, where it's like
Yeah, I know.
Stage 2 is Stage 3.
Well,
It's
Skunk 2 has been around long enough for the stage thing. Like, I can't be mad at them for that.
yeah, and well, it's when they make like several different camshafts for one application.
Yeah.
Like that makes
sense. And if you don't know enough to read lift and duration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just easier to see Stage 1. All right, cool. It's a street cam. Stage 2 is like street race.
Are those VTEC engines?
Do
they have separate profiles for that or no?
Yes, they are. They do have an option for it. We're doing non-VTEC though.
Okay.
Because we're doing carburetors, and
that makes sense.
I'll be running crazy rich if I'm doing VTEC like all the time, except from in VTEC, or I'll blow it up when I have VTEC. So like, no, it's a terrible idea.
Fair enough.
And actually, our setup that we're doing, our B series setup that I've put together for effectively what it would be probably $3,200 all in to get it into the car, including building the engine. That is the recipe that Tony Fuchs had to build the world's first 10-second Integra. So, like that's
he did that on carbs?
Yeah, he did that on carbs. Yeah, like that's it. That's literally what he did.
That's great.
So,
God, that's so fast. Imagine a Hellcat level speed Integra CI Accord.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
Ridiculous.
So yeah, that's totally why we're doing that.
Fair enough.
So
That's fair.
and it's like if it wasn't for the fact that that was so cheap to build that, I would totally put in a K series, 100%.
Yeah, I mean things change. I'm just so used to the only time I've been paying attention to Honda stuff, it's been like K's are like free.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
so,
I
like,
get that's a little more recent, and even like K Pro, that hasn't been around for that long.
No, it's been around for probably about what 10, 15 years.
And
yeah.
K Tuner has been around for like 3.
Yeah.
Like it's not long.
It's been K Tuner was really the thing that made it like possible for everything to just go K.
Right, because I mean, you took the humdrum, like the legit $350 junkyard motors, and you could just.
It's a 4-cylinder LS. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And they arguably have more potential and way more power density than an LS, which is incredible.
Absolutely, way more. Well, it's because if you look at it, I mean, this is Honda, which is Honda. They do small 4-cylinders. And this is them putting 100% of their engineering efforts
right.
into an engine that will be used for the next 15 to 20 years of their
existence. And that's the thing, the K is still in production.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they did that for. It's kind of like Honda's it's Honda's equivalent of like a Subaru EJ, where they put every bit of their engineering effort into doing one single product that's going to last forever in their production series.
I'm really glad that the EJ is gone, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gone yet.
It isn't?
No, it's still in the STI.
Really?
Yeah.
They haven't swapped that to an FB yet?
No. They'll do it next generation, though.
Okay, good.
It's like 2021, 2022.
The EJ needs to go away.
I want the EJ to be in production for 50 years.
It's better
That'd
than the EA, for sure.
Vastly superior.
But the FB is so much better.
That is
than
true, except for the rod bearings, which seem to just snap.
Yeah, but you could always just change those. It's better than head gaskets.
Or you could just run a K series, which is reliable and powerful.
We found the real answer.
That's the
which
correct
is the
answer. It's the
Honda
Honda K series. It's like the best engine.
If you can't fit a 4th gen small block in something, throw a K in it and call it good.
Yes.
All right.
It goes rotary. If you can fit something larger than a rotary, you put a K in it. Anything larger than a K, you just put an LS into it. There's no other reason to swap any other engine than those three.
Are your future children going to have Power Wheels powered by like 13 Bs? Because you could physically fit a rotary into it?
No, because I don't want them to be crippled. So they would literally die. Anyway, let's move on to your second
Sounds
topic.
good. I want to talk about automatic transmissions.
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Well, I imagine you're probably leaning to something like really monumental, like that Toyota's or GM's junked all their automatics and are just going back to the Power Glide.
Well, that would be pretty cool. No, I actually want to. In fact, I have a link for this story, so I'm going to bring it up too. But the BMW M2 recently swapped over in moniker. It's called the M2 Competition now. And it has a very, 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 very slightly detuned version of the M3 M4 engine instead of the tuned-up version of the 340i engine.
You know, whenever I see an M2, because I don't look at modern BMWs that much, I get excited because they come in like that color. I go, oh, is that a BMW 1 Series?
It's like,
and then I go, oh, no, it's not a 1 Series.
What was the color of my Z3? Sienna Red. It's like Sienna Red on a modern car. But anyway, the last like 10 years, and I've even talked to people at BMW, and by talk to, I mean like razzed until they leave the room, basically. We're like, why don't you give us the manual transmission in these cars anymore? They're like, well, some of it's CO2 and a lot of it's just efficiency and speed. Like, people just want the fastest shifting, most efficient, blah, blah, blah transmission. And I'm like, you know, I kind of get that. But, like, just do that in your least special cars and still give us the fancy cars with the
With
manual.
the manual, yeah.
Which, I mean, BMW is, to their credit, and this is the only thing I can currently credit them for, they still offer, like, 3 really good vehicles with the 6-speed. The M2 Competition's one of them. Car and Driver actually just tested the competition.
Yeah.
The manual's actually faster than the
Good.
dual clutch. So
That's
a 6-speed
funny.
manual is faster than the, I think it's an 8-speed dual clutch now.
Weird. Having 8 gears and the extra, like, 200 pounds floating around might make your car slower. That's
right.
odd.
I honestly think it's due to the weight.
Yeah,
'Cause
probably.
That transmission is really heavy.
Well, it's like I've always said, like, that's,
And, like, this engine has just a plateau for a torque curve.
well, this is exactly why you see, like, go back to Honda for a minute.
Mhm.
Compare them to BMW. This is why you see Honda's, like, you know, a 30-year-old economy car shooting on a guy with an M3 at a racetrack.
Yep.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't weigh anything.
Yep.
Like,
Power to weight.
Yeah, you can make 160 horsepower, the fastest 160 horsepower you've ever seen, if the car weighs 1,800 pounds.
Well, it's like even the old Element. It was like, when I stripped that thing down, I bet if I took that thing out on the street, it would have been really fast.
Yeah, probably would have broke all four tires loose. Yeah.
Right? So, I understand why they have to do it, because of fuel economy standards, and CO2 is a really big thing for car manufacturer. When you put it on this kind of scale, when you have that many cars coming out, fine. But offer the manual. Because I think they said they ran this around a 3.4 mile test circuit. And yeah, it was faster with the 6-speed.
Well, there you go. Everybody with automatics says the car's faster. It's just not true.
Pathetic automatic scum Facebook group.
Yes, exactly.
Manual elitist jerks will be very happy.
Yes.
And I am too, because that's one of few cars on sale today that's worth buying.
So funny enough, speaking of automatics, Josh and Anna, we've had Josh
Yeah.
on. We need to have Anna on.
Yeah, where is she?
Not here.
Oh.
But their truck is down for the season because Josh has blown up his like 8th TH400.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that recent?
It just happened this week. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like 8th or 9th. It's insane.
I was
Like,
gonna
he
say, I
breaks
saw
them
like
all.
some fab photos last week of his exhaust manifolds, but apparently that got in, and then they ran it, and now it's dead again.
Yep.
Okay.
So they're finally going with a Power Glide, the way they should have gone. Yay, Power Glide.
Is that all you wanted to
That's
say?
all I wanted to say.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It just goes to say, everything should be manual. If you absolutely 100% need an automatic, the Power Glide exists.
Yep.
Use a Power Glide.
Other
Otherwise,
than that, you've
use
got
a manual.
you've got the Lenco, which is for if your car makes more than 2,500 horsepower.
Yeah, which is
And
also
it's also
basically
a manual. It just
Yeah.
doesn't use like separate gear sets. It uses friction bands and levers.
yeah.
Like, it is still absolutely a manual transmission.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm in agreement. The Power Glide, like
That's the only automatic that should ever exist.
if you have enough power, like, when was the last time you drove a car and then, okay, so fine. Back up. Manual transmission car with a bunch of power. You start in first. If you rev it up to like $4,000 in first, you can just put it in sixth and then drive.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the essence of the Power Glide, except then you've got a non-locking torque converter, which
Yeah.
takes up the slack of that like intermediate engine speed range.
No, you're absolutely correct.
So like a Power Glide with a locking converter, yeah, that's the only way automatic should ever exist.
yeah.
Just give me a gear where I can take off fairly quickly and a
then-
cruising gear.
And that's what the Power Glide is, and it's made for that. And the beautiful thing is, if you have a big fat power band of like 2,600 horsepower, and it starts at
Well, not even
2,000, and
Modern
it
cars
ends at
are almost
4,000.
all force induction.
Yeah.
They've all got flat torque curves. It
Yes.
is perfect for a Power Glide.
Yeah.
Don't give us a CVT, which tries to mimic basically what a Power Glide does, but
Yeah.
breaks all the time. It is weak.
Yeah.
Put
you
a
just
Power Glide
put
in
a ge-
there, where you can just like put tap water into it, run it for 400,000 miles, and it's fine.
Exactly. That's exactly what every car needs is a Power Glide. So anyway, I'm just really happy to make Power Glide transmissions for my Cressida. So you can just Get an adapter plate.
They also make them for BMW 335s.
There you go. Perfect. Just put Power Glide at 335. Call it a day.
My $4,000 cheap turbo 335 build was like, yeah, we also put a Power Glide in.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Why? Because it won't break. Anyway.
$8,000 transmission later.
So, speaking of BMWs and cars that are worth just like insane amounts of money, we're kind of coming right up to the beginning of like the big kind of into the season. You begin to get all the auctions and stuff happening this time of year. And I want to talk about 3 cars worth buying now, and then some cars that you should absolutely sell right the fuck now, and then some to hold on to. So, I think 3 cars you absolutely should be buying right now that people are not talking about, but are just being slept on. The Mark II Supra, the 3000 GT VR4, and then like the boy racer Hondas of the like late 80s till 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And my reason is the Mark III and the Mark IV Supras are going up in value. I really think the Mark III is going to have a bubble because the Mark III sucks. It's just a fact that it's worse in every way than all other Supras.
Yeah, and I wish that weren't the case, but like things aren't arbitrary in cars.
Yeah.
Like there are reasons behind what is and what isn't popular.
Yeah, and it's like the Mark III, yeah, it does have a racing pedigree. That's true. The Mark III also has a pedigree for being really the outlier of the bunch, for being the only unreliable Supra.
And that's not even necessarily always true, because I mean that was the car that pioneered the JZ engine, at least in our market.
The Mark III not in our market, didn't have the JZ. The Mark III had the JZ in the Japanese market.
We only had M engines here?
Yeah, 7Ms.
I did not know that. I figured it was just like the early turbo cars had the
No,
7M, then
they all had
migrated to the
7Ms in
We
America.
didn't get 1Js here in the U.S.?
Yeah, no, they pioneered the 1J in that car. So if you have a Japanese 1J 3rd gen Supra, then yes, by all means, that's a car worth buying.
It's a great car, as long as the R154 can take the power, because that was before they had the V160 Trans.
Yeah, and it's questionable, but yeah,
Power Glide.
Yep. Which they also make a swap kit for that, just so you know.
They absolutely
use the
do.
same one that you would use in a Cressida.
And that's one of the cheapest Power Glide adaptations out there, because they sell so many Power Glides for JZ Velos.
Exactly. Another one is the 3000 GT VR4.
Spider or Coupe?
Either one.
Okay.
Specifically the Spider, because those are really rare.
I really like those. In
yeah,
fact, that's something I should probably look at. But
I would highly recommend buying that.
Can you imagine working on a 3000 GT VR4?
Probably just as hard as your Ferrari.
I don't want to do that.
Well, you just get a low mile one, but I mean, just get it and don't use it.
But that retractable hardtop's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's got retractable hardtop. It's got 4-wheel steering, active aero, twin turbo, variable valve time, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it has all those weird, stupid vents that are on we saw the M2 competition on the screen. So why don't you throw up a 3000 GT Spider? Because all these stupid vents that are on the 3000 GT, like the 3000 GT of any variant, every single one of those dumb vents does something. It's like those little vents in the doors. Those actually cool down the.
I'm gonna pick a white one
brakes.
so we can actually see it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a No, that's way too small. That's way too small. It's 200 by 400.
Doesn't matter.
Get that red one. Get
It's
the red
on
one.
the stream.
You can't see it.
Sure you can.
Oh, it looks awful. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's on the stream. Like, look at what it looks like on OBS. It's fine.
Yeah, it looks fine. All right. Anyway, so those vents in front of the rear wheels do something. Those vents in the front bumper do something. And the door, you notice the door, the
scallop.
There's that little scallop thing. That's actually an air outlet for the front brake.
Huh.
Like, every single vent in that does something. It's really, really, really cool. And even, like, the placement, the angle of the turn signal is designed so it'll blow air over the mirrors, and that will provide a slight amount of downforce. So it's like, those cars are really, really innovative. And, like, 1989, when that came out, that was doing stuff that BMW was doing 30 years later.
I was going to say, like, with the E90, basically.
Yeah, like
yeah.
that.
So 2008.
Yeah, it's really insane what that car was doing. And you know what? That car, it's really, really, really heavy. It is a heavy pig of a car. It
And
makes
they're
200.
also really not that reliable. But
And they make 280 horsepower, like all the Japanese muscle cars.
276, right?
Yeah, same thing. Well, actually, they lied, and the Japanese ones actually made 320. But,
well, there's There's SAE and DIN, and then everyone lied on top of that. So
Yeah,
it's really
basically.
hard to
So
keep track.
just say about 280. But the thing is that even with all that, its 0 to 60 time was actually faster than the base model R34 GTR.
Jeez.
So,
And you could do it with drop top fun.
yeah, it's absolutely worth
That
it.
reminds me of a 1950s Ford retrack where the entire back end comes open
Yeah.
to hold the retractable hardtop.
The Skyliner, I think is what it's called.
It was a Fairlane retrack?
Yeah,
I don't
Fairlane
remember.
Skyliner, I think.
My maternal grandfather had one while I was growing up. It's such a cool
Yeah,
car.
they were super cool.
But it was a one-piece hardtop
Yeah.
that went into the trunk.
And the front piece just like bent down a little. Yeah.
No, this was a one-piece top.
No, I mean the front end of that top. It angles itself.
Oh
down
yeah,
like that.
yeah. There
Like,
was
it's all one
no
piece.
trunk, no nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like and it was an oddly shaped rear end because of how huge the hardtop was. But
Yeah, I love that.
Super
Yeah,
cool.
that's a super cool car.
Imagine having that in the 50s.
So all right, so this is the thing with this one is a Supra is $170,000 now.
Yep.
These are still $20,000. A Supra is better, but is a Supra really like? Can you say with any form of honesty like 7 times better than this car?
No, I mean it's like the 500e versus the Tesla.
Like yeah, it's
But this versus Z32 300 ZX Twin Turbo, they're both really hard to work on.
and that's probably another one that you would recommend for being that car that you
I
should pick up
didn't
now.
pick one for my 3,
For that.
but it would have been my 4th.
That would have been your 4th. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. So and then actually my 3rd are the 80s and 90s boy racer Hondas.
Wait, does this have to be just JDM?
No. It just happens to be what I was talking about. So the 80s and 90s Hondas, a lot of people are still kind of sleeping on those, and you can still pick them up like really, really, really cheap. Like really cheap in good condition. If you like looking like Pacific Northwest or like out in the middle of nowhere where it's like some grandma has it. And like not just like the EM1s that we hear about or the Integra Type Rs, but Integra GSRs, the Civic SIs, like the non-EM1s, so the EGSI, the
So even like a
EFSIs.
nice, like the same body as the EM1, but the EX with a manual, like
That's
even
still a
that's
really
still
good car.
Pretty good
Yeah.
car.
Well, even like a EG like sedan, the least desirable of the bunch, like that's still a pretty cool car.
It's a great place to put a K series and have some
Exactly, yeah. But like, yeah, I would say the one that I would say to buy because people are sleeping on it are the EG, EX sedans, or not sedans, coupes, the EG coupe, the Fast and Furious one, and then I would say the EGSI is another one. We never hear about that. That one's like really highly sought after.
fun. So EG is the one that was like the
That
late
was
90s.
that 92 through 95.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
those
didn't know
ones
they
are,
even made an SI in that.
they did, and that was a
not a rare
it was
car.
a single is a D16 Z6, the
No,
most
it's a
desirable.
good head though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good. Well, those are ones you can't ever find them because they've all been raced, crashed, and stolen.
Yep.
Every single
like
one
a
of them.
90s
So if you
Honda.
can ever find an EGSI,
I've never
good
seen one of
condition.
those, let alone a stock one.
I've seen a few. Like I've seen them. Like I remember like back in the day, like when I got street racing, where they were a dime a dozen, but they all had like rust holes the size of my hand in the fenders. Like they're
It's
bad.
my only car, man.
They were really, really terrible. But I think I've seen maybe one EGSI in the last probably 8 years. So
It's maybe a better thing to recommend than the EM1 because everyone knows about that.
everybody knows the EM1. You can easily identify EM1. EGSI is super slept on, and those ones I would highly recommend if you can find that.
Huh.
Also, you can't forget about the. They're a little bit different, but the first generation Integra and the third generation Civic
I do remember the first gen Integra.
with pop-up headlights and
Yeah.
super boxy.
There was one that was in my neighborhood growing up and it never moved
Yeah. and
until one
those-
day it was gone.
Yeah, and then those first generation CRXs and third gen Civics, those ones were also they're not as easy to work with as the 90s ones, but a lot of early record setting was done with those, and if like a lot like the fastest cars like in 1995, 1996 were 80s era Civics. So, the first 10-second Honda was a it was a 84 CRX turbo. So, yeah, that'd be another one I'd recommend. What do you say for
So,
cars you would recommend?
in 80s and 90s, keeping on the same kind of vein you're on, my first one's going to be E34 M5. So that's going to be 1989 to 1994. They are already appreciating, but not steeply enough where I would say avoid them.
Yeah.
I would just try to find a car that's been well looked after but has some miles on it. If you can find one that's a 93 or a 94, that's the way to go because they had a little bit more powerful engine, but it doesn't matter. But those are the last ones to have the straight six, the big block straight six,
Okay.
like the M1 engine basically. Yeah. And that body style is just super classy.
That's the one
looking.
you've got downstairs.
No, I've got an E39.
Okay.
So the E34 was the earlier, boxier one. That
Can you
looks more
bring
like
that up
an
on the
E30.
screen?
Yeah, gladly. That's one of my favorite cars. So if I could find a reasonable one, I would still buy it. Unfortunately, though.
Okay, yeah.
And they did make a wagon one, which people import all the time. So if you can
That's
find
the
one
James
of those,
Bond
great.
car, right?
It's the Ronin car, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where I remember it from.
I did not mean to click on that. The copy image location is definitely what I meant to do. So, and they also made them in Daytona Violet, which is like the best
That
BMW
color, actually,
color.
right there.
That is
Yeah.
that color.
That's a
Yeah.
beautiful color, yeah.
And that car, it's just super classy, and it is extremely capable, really reliable. However, if you have one with engine problems, don't buy it, because like a basic rebuild on that engine, $16,000 now. So, yeah,
Okay.
they don't make parts for it. That's my first pick. They will follow the E28 M5. They will explode in value someday. They'll be worth unobtainable amounts of money. But not yet, because it's people my age that want them.
Yes.
And I can't afford them, which means most people my age can't afford them yet. So, on that same vein, the Lancia Thema 832. We've talked about
we've
that
talked
one
about
before.
that one a lot. Yeah.
That car is currently worth nothing. It was a direct competitor for this M5.
But it's a front-wheel drive Ferrari, basically.
Yeah, it was a 5-speed 308.
Yeah.
In a Lancia.
With front-wheel drive.
Right, which is not great. But you can pick it up cheap enough, and it's really interesting. And I guarantee you'll have one of like the first 5 in the country if you buy one this year.
Yeah, that would be a really, really good car to buy, actually.
That's a great buy. So
That,
I mean,
that
again,
actually that was on my list, but I put that like 4th or 5th place.
Again, there's a lot of stuff I would like to recommend, but I picked a few that are just my knee-jerk reactions, and usually that's what I actually want.
Like you come into $10,000, you need to put into a car immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
get
mean,
one
you're
of
going to be in
these.
it a little more with importing, but not much. Not much. It's worth stretching a little bit.
Yeah.
And my third one is a clean SW21 T-top turbo.
Oh yeah. I
because
saw one.
those are still worth nothing.
I saw one that was actually at one of my JNC meets. I do a bi-weekly Tuesday night meet at Louisiana Oaks Park in St. Louis Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's for old Japanese cars. You can bring anything you want, but that's what we're gonna be that's what people are there for. And there's a guy that brought his SW21 with him.
Which, for people that don't know the
Which
chassis
is-
connections, it's the 1991 to 1996 here Toyota MR2 Turbo.
Yes, he brought
Or,
one
sorry,
of those,
2021's NA.
and he had really early Desmond Regamaster wheels, which
I don't know what that is.
you should bring that up on the screen. It's like the
I'm going to bring up
quintessential.
the SW20, but not that.
The Desmond Regamaster is like the quintessential 5-spoke aftermarket wheel. It became the Mugen, or not the Mugen, the Spoon SW388s. But they're it's such a good looking car.
I know, it's my first car. Well, I had an NA sunroof, but
Yeah,
same body shape, same wheels. So,
that's it. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
beautiful
the second
car.
generation MR2, I really do think that is due for its time in the limelight pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean that is it's the heaviest. It is the fastest. It is the best.
It's the most comfortable for sure.
It really is the best MR2. Yeah. That really is, and that's
I
like
really
kind of
like the third gen.
that's the one most people think of when you say
yeah.
MR2.
No, I've got an
as well.
MR2. Like,
Yeah, all right, SW20.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I had one of those in high school. It was cool.
Yeah, that's
But
a
this
very,
is the car
very,
that
very
people
good car.
had and they couldn't modify because nothing existed to mod it, and then they sold it and got like a Honda. And these cars survived pretty well. There aren't a lot of these that are butchered.
Yeah, that's very true. These are really good survivors in the collector world.
But yeah, I mean, from 1991, you had a 2-liter,
Usually-
200 horsepower turbo engine.
Usually, when you see them, they're red with like no clear coat
Yep.
at all.
Yep.
But no, this guy's name's Hunter. Actually, he's a really, really nice guy. He's from Texas or something like that. But he, yeah, his it is red. It has clear coat, black interior. It's the most common one.
That's how mine was.
He
Yeah.
de-riced it because some guy put on like some like
course.
horrible turbo kit on it. It was just like totally butchered
Imagine trying to
everything.
buy a factory CT26 turbo for one of these now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, well, there's probably one sitting in a barn somewhere that was taken off 20 years ago.
No,
but-
you go with the aftermarket one that's roughly the same size. It'll
and
perform
then probably
better.
has a way better impeller on it, so it
Yeah.
spools.
Yeah. What's our beautiful thing about these like Japanese cars is like, it's not like European cars where originality matters. Like,
Yeah.
if you're close enough, it's fine.
Yep.
It's like a muscle car.
Oh, like this is better.
Yeah.
It's got a GT28 RS.
Like
I'm
you,
oh,
you make it a little bit better. Like, yeah, a unmodified Hemi Cuda was at one point was worth $1 million, but like, nobody cares.
The one with
like-
the Hellcat motor in it, the manual's way better.
Yeah, nobody cares about it. It's the fact that you can get in that car, turn it on, and go. It's a reliable, fun car.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. They're great cars.
And speaking of such, I want to talk about some cars that you should absolutely hold on to right now.
Okay.
Actually, sorry, I want to talk about cars you should sell right now.
Oh, okay.
Before we talk about things you should
Well,
hold
you
on
start
to.
on that. I'm going to get a beer and pee.
Yeah. Cars that you should sell are absolutely, literally any 60s or 70s muscle car. Just get out of them. Nobody wants them. They don't make sense.
Your dad wants it, but he's going to die someday.
Yeah, the only people that are interested in them really are baby boomers and Gen Xers, and they're right now either at their peak or past their peak. It's not to say that they're bad cars or anything. I mean, they are really, there's some really cool ones. But at the end of the day, it's like, how many millennials identify with, say like a 440 Magnum, a Challenger? Like, not many. Like, does it look cool? Yeah. There's a handful, I'm sure, that will retain their value. So, like I said, the Challengers, maybe the Charger Daytonas, stuff like that will retain their value. But, like, if you're sitting there and you got a Cutlass 442 or you've got, like any Chevelle other than a 69 or a 70, you're in a tight spot. GTO Judge, yeah, but, like, a normal Le Mans with a big engine, it's going to devalue. That's something that I would say get out of that now while you still can. Absolutely is just going to be a really awesome way to lose a bunch of money. It's almost, some of them actually have begun even going down in value. Weirdly enough, it's the Malaise ones that are holding their value better than the other ones. So
When you say Malaise, do you mean like Mustang 2, or do you mean like on the borderline where it was the good 60s car, but it just had a restrictor plate in it?
that one, yeah, the good 60s one. Those are the ones that are, I was saying, like, the really iconic ones and the Malaise ones seem to be the ones that are holding their value a little bit.
Yeah, if you've got a 69 Camaro, keep it. But like, other
Yeah,
than
well, that's what I
that,
said. So like the GTO Judge, the
there's a few.
the GTO Judge, the Charger Daytona, the Challengers. Those are the ones that are going to be.
Hemi Roadrunner.
Yeah, exactly. Those are ones that are going to be worth the money.
Yeah.
But it's like if you got like a Plymouth Satellite or like you got a Le Mans or you got something where people don't know the name as well, like you're gonna lose your shirt on that. And the thing is with the Malaise ones, the early Malaise cars, they just threw a restrictor plate on and a really restrictive catalytic converter. Those ones are gonna be the ones that they didn't really appreciate ever, and millennials can actually get into that. So
And
that's
you
like
can
the
fix them
closest.
super easy.
That's like the one I'd say like if you really, really, really want a muscle car, a 74 GTO, where it was based off of like that really awful 74, 75-ish like.
I forget
forgot what it
the
was.
model. Yeah.
Yeah, but it like if you get something like that where it's just like like one of the never worth anything muscle cars, those are the ones to probably hold
That's
on
gonna
to.
drive me nuts if I can't figure out what that was based on.
Just type in 74 GTO, you can figure it out. I think it was a Chevelle actually, because I think they like Malaise the Chevelle first, and then made it smaller.
Tempest. That's
The
what it was.
Tempest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that car got like totally Malaised, and
Yeah.
then it was actually worth. Now it's worth something because they never appreciated it. Now it's like millennials can get into it, and they actually are like, cool, this muscle car for nothing.
It's, I mean, kind of just like jumping on and looking at what has happened to segments in time of cars. I mean, look at Pioneer, look at pre-war, look at like the Winga Dinga 50s cars.
Yeah.
Like the cars you actually can buy, and it's a safe bet to hold it pretty much indefinitely, is a period race car, especially if it has pedigree.
Any race cars worth
Any
holding,
race
yeah.
car. Because, like, you see pre-war, you see Pioneer, you bet your ass it is only at a racetrack.
Yep, it's true.
That's
Like,
it.
How much is a Model T worth these days? It's like maybe $16,000.
I was gonna say, I mean, you can get one that's like got rust in it, but works for like 5, 6.
Yeah, like nobody really wants it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, was that really worth like storing and keeping for 100 years?
yeah,
Just so you could get like the price of a nice Samsung refrigerator out of it?
yeah. No, it's
Pretty
not.
much no.
No.
So you got to be really careful about just buying a boring, non-pedigreed, no history version of a car of an era. And if you're okay losing your shirt on it and like it's a sentimental thing, fine. But
So
we're here
what's
for appreciating
what
cars.
is a car that you would say that people should absolutely get out of like right now? Like this car's on fire, get out of it because it's gonna lose.
So
its
something
shirt.
that somebody's held on to and it is
Something-
appreciated
something
and it
that's
won't
at its
anymore?
peak and has nowhere left to go but down.
Oh man, that's a really big question to just spring on me. I would say probably coming back to the 68, 69 Camaro if you've got a really nice straight
Muscle cars. You
one
know
of,
what?
one of those, the 69
How do you-
muscle car.
How do you feel about the
Get out of it. Get something else.
Yeah. How do you feel about the 911s?
I was
'Cause-
gonna say 964,
The
honestly,
964?
but you missed your boat. That was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When like a Carrera 2 964 with like not a lot of history was worth 80 grand.
Yeah.
Now you can get
it's-
them into like the high 50s and low 60s again, which is kind of nice because
Yeah.
they're really great cars.
That's a hold on to it because now you've lost your shirt. And it's,
I got it.
Yeah.
993.
The 993s, the last
If you've
generation
got
before.
if you've got any clean manual 993, get out of
Sell
it
it right now, yeah, while you still
And just
can.
get something else. Get like
Yeah.
a newer GT3 or something like that. Just save yourself a bunch of money, and then you can ride the. Oh, here's what you do: you sell your 993 and you buy a 996 GT3, and you enjoy it because you can still get a 996 GT3 for 40 grand.
The 996 was the first generation water cooled.
Yeah.
That's Scott's.
But
Yes.
the GT3 ran the Metzger engine, which is the old air-cooled turbo engine with water jacket. So it's basically the supercar engine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's absolutely what. As I say, like what I would do is get out your air cooled 911 for a few years, pick up a 996 or a 997.
And you can do it with a
Drive-
standard one too. But
Yeah.
the GT3 will appreciate.
Yeah. Get
'Cause
into
that's
your
got the solid
996,
engine.
997 for a few years. People still want 911s. They won't be able to afford any of the air cooleds anymore, so they'll go to a water cooled.
But I'm talking a car that
And then
has
you can-
appreciated.
yeah.
They've ridden it up, and they want to get out of it and get into something else that's still appreciated.
Yep. You just
And that
you
is
ride the next wave. Yeah.
Specifically, 997 GT3s are already unattainable. Don't look at them. 996 GT3s are
Those
still
are-
really reasonable, and they are the same car.
There you go. Well, that's actually a top tip.
There you
That's a
go.
really good top tip.
Go buy a 996 GT3 if you can find one, because they are great cars.
What about cars to hold? Because I've got 3. I'll let you think about that. But my 3 right now, E30s.
E30s are
Don't
that's a
hold
good
on.
one.
Don't try to get into an E30 right now. You can't. The Nissan S30. It's a 240, 260, 280Zs. Just you've missed your boat on that. And then actually the 50s, any car from the 50s, literally any single one, because that car has completely exploded in value. It's now completely come down, and it's never gonna go back up again. Like it just won't. There's not anyone. Maybe like if there's some like weirdo like Plymouth that nobody in the world knows about that is suddenly discovered by the public, that might be worth something. But as a whole, 50s cars, I'm writing them off. They're not worth anything anymore, especially American ones. You know, maybe Japanese ones might go up. So if you really want something that you can drive it back to the 50s and you want to try to make some money on it,
Yeah.
go find yourself like a 1958 Toyota Crown
Yeah.
or a 1958 Corona.
Something that you could actually use more than one day a year, which would be kind of nice.
And something that's not worth so much money that and nobody can attain it. These are, really the only 50s era car I could ever think of being worth more money than it currently is now is old Japanese cars because nobody thought about them. And
Old British cars too.
well, British cars, they had their moment. I think they're going to have a comeback, actually.
Yeah, but you think of like I forget the name of the sedan from like 1958. that
Oh,
really-
they're sedans, not their roadsters. They're just normal
the
cars.
Roadsters in the 60s, yeah, but the sedans in the 50s were the precursor to those with all the technology.
Yeah, it's like the Jaguar, like
What do they call
XK,
this thing?
like Mark 9 or whatever.
Yeah, the Mark 8 or whatever the hell
Yeah.
it was. I think it's a Lincoln, but you know what I mean. The sedan where like everyone had them 'cause they had disc brakes, they had a 3.8 liter inline 6. They were fast, they were pretty reliable.
Yeah, like
and they look good.
Like the Jaguar Mark II. That's another good example.
Maybe
yeah.
it's that even, I don't know. But that's what I would say. If you're going to buy a car from the 50s, either, I guess, buy a clean Tri-5, but that's kind of played out.
But no,
Or,
that's when I hold on to it because like that's not going anywhere. Like that price is going to be that price for the rest of the time.
that's true. That's
Like
fair.
it peaked and it went down and then it stayed there, like where it is. Like if you're looking to make money on Tri-5, you can find a time machine to like 1991.
That's true. That's before I even paid attention to cars. Really, is when those had their time in the limelight.
Yeah.
So
And I also think the E30s are, we love them here. They're really good
Yeah.
cars, but it's like they're
definitely in the stagnant area right now, and I don't know what direction they're gonna go. I'm guessing still up, but
I think they're gonna.
they had a huge rally like a couple of years ago where
Yeah.
clean 325i's went from like 3,500 to 6,500
Yes.
all the way up to 9 is base now for a decent 325.
No, it
up
is.
to like
You're
12,
right.
13, 14, 16 for
Well,
one you don't have to worry about.
What I'm afraid of, the E30 M3, absolutely 100%
That's
worth
gone.
that money.
Yeah.
Like that's a car that's where it's worth it. But what I'd be if I was the owner of a 325 ES or something,
Yeah.
I'd be very afraid for the value of my car.
I don't think I would because there are always going to be people that lusted after the M3, missed the boat,
Yep,
and
and they want
still
yours.
can't afford a 325 IS.
But the thing is, you have to really look at the other cars in the world
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah,
"Oh my God, is a 190e really that much worse than this?"
it is.
But or like is a like importing a Skyline sedan really that
No,
much
I mean,
worse?
yeah,
like
think
it's
about that.
but that's the thing is like your
Yeah.
average buyer like
Would you take an R32 GTST or would you take a clean 86 ES like GTST every day?
yeah,
For
exactly
the same price.
Yeah, for the exact same price,
Yeah.
and that's what I'd be afraid of. But I think as a whole, hold on to your E30s right now, and then watch that market like a hawk. And once you see them take any sort of dip, get out of it. Or if they go up, cool. Now you just hold it even
Yeah,
more and
I'd
make
say
some
that's
money.
fair. Like if you're on the fence about whether or not you should sell your 30, just don't. But then if you see movement, then do.
And then my last one, the Nissan S30 chassis. The reason I would hold that is the 240Z is the only one where it is actually really amazing. The other two, the 260Z and the 280Z,
Yeah.
those ones were really good because they were the best thing you could get during the malaise. And that's why people like them. That's just it. I mean, and every single one of those has just exploded in value because of the 240. And don't get me wrong, the 260s and 280s are still really awesome cars. It's just every single one that is at its peak has been converted over to carburetors and had the cat removed.
Yeah.
Like-
People trying to like retro
They're all retrofitted.
retro dating or whatever you call that kind of shit.
And yeah, like the S30s, like you're not gonna be able to find many cheap ones. A lot of people play themselves. They go, dude, I'm gonna get 280Z 2+2 for like nothing. It's to be $2,000 until they find out
It's 'cause
literally
it's worth nothing.
every single part of that car is a completely different vehicle. Control arms, body panels, nothing fits. The only thing that fits is the engine and the transmission.
Yep.
Like everything else is
And
different.
those are the parts you don't care about.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like-
great, it's an L28.
Yeah, like those parts.
Awesome.
Like if you want one to modify, the 2+2 is a great car.
Yeah, I guess if we can make
'Cause-
a race car out of it or something.
No, or like if you're just trying to like make it like stupid fast and like you don't want to like ruin
Wasn't that
something
the
that's
old Midnight
collectible.
Club guy who ran a 280?
No, it's a 280ZX.
Oh,
But yeah.
okay.
And then when they did the Wine God Midnight anime, because the 280ZX is really homely to look at, they made it a S30. But
I was gonna pull up a 280Z. 2
yeah.
plus 2.
This is honestly the only one I could say that's worth getting into, because yeah, there you go, perfect. These cars are just not desirable at all. Yeah, they're not desirable at all. They never will be.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can just you can fuck around with it and do whatever you want and
Yep.
not worry.
And then when it dies, you just throw it away.
Yeah, and then go get any other chassis because you're not gonna find another one. Like, if you want to build like an L28 to like make 350 horsepower all motor, like that's the one to do it in because you're not gonna be ruining a collector's item.
And
You're
you get
not gonna
extra
be like-
wheelbase, which is nice.
Yeah, it's actually easier to live with. But I mean, the car also, to be honest, it does not look right.
No,
I
no,
think-
it doesn't.
I think that if the normal ones didn't exist, this car would be a really cool like footnote of like, look at this weird 2+2 that Nissan made. It's kind of cool.
The 2+2s have always been like, if you only ever saw that, you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, when you see the two-door, like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like that. The 2-door is the way to go. But
Well, I mean the two-seater, I guess.
yeah, the 2-seater. Yeah. But
All right, let me move on to mine then.
yeah, what's yours?
So hold cars. Mercedes R129 SL.
Yep. Yeah.
They have not had their value improvement yet, and they will. That was a car that was made for 13 years.
I think another thing is don't go out of your way to get into them. Because there's so many different variations, and it's only the really, really good ones that are going to be worth money.
Yeah, you do. Okay, here's what you want to buy. You want to buy a 1989 to 1992 300 SL 5-speed.
Yep.
Or you want to buy a 1996 or newer 600.
Yep.
Or you want to buy a 99 or newer 500 Silver Arrow.
Yeah.
That's really all you want to buy.
Or I guess the AMG version.
Yeah, well, yes. The specialty tuning house ones, that goes without saying. So the SL60, the SL73, if you can find one of those for a reasonable price, just buy it because they're great. But I'm talking like reasonable, attainable,
if
actual
you're looking at
market-wide
like
cars.
SL500, it's
Just, I mean, the early SL500s had way more power. The pre-1996 cars, because they had the old M119 engine.
Yeah.
But the maintenance isn't worth it.
Yeah.
So, and there were AMG versions of the 500 as well, where they put the Hammer engine in it and all that kind of stuff. Like, those are cool. You could look at that. But really, my advice is if you're getting into it on kind of the low end of the market, find yourself an early 6-cylinder 5-speed car, because they're the best.
Yes.
If you got a little more money to spend, get yourself late model 99 to 02 500 Silver Arrow. You can find them with some miles for not that bad.
So what's special about the Silver Arrow?
It had like updated headlights, taillights, bumpers, interior. The interior was a two-tone black and silver, and it carried over to the steering wheel too. I should see if I can find it actually. They're really cool looking. They had some special wheels, but it was like the last couple of years of the SL 500.
Yeah, that looks really good. That looks really good.
This is one of the cars where like they made changes to it over the 12 years, but it just got better and better. Because like an 02 Silver Arrow is pretty much the peak. They did make a 600 Silver Arrow, but it's really rare. So look for a 500. They're fine. It's got the Chrysler-ified V8, but like they had that thing in production for like 30 years, so it doesn't matter. So that's a good buy. If you can afford a little bit more, find yourself a really clean 600.
I would say 600.
Plus.
Yeah.
But if you can find yourself a 99 plus 600, it's got the updated bumpers and the taillights with the exposed exhaust, and you can find a 600 Silver Arrow. Well, that's the one to buy.
I know, like, with the MLs and stuff, they had awful interiors because of Chrysler. Did these cars suffer from the Daimler Chrysler thing? Because everything was already designed early.
Yeah, I mean, they changed the seats in 96, and they changed a lot of the interior materials, but they did nothing but make it better.
Okay. So
the only thing I really hate about the update was they went from a conventional radio with wires to an updated one with fiber optics.
Nope.
So they work great. They don't fail, but you can't change the radio in a 96 and up Mercedes SL.
So that is something that you really have to look out for.
Get the upgraded audio system because it's actually okay.
Yeah, I just... Ugh.
But anyway,
the early ones, I have a hard time like recommending any sort of like 93 and newer, or 94 and newer Mercedes.
Well, and the early 600s and 500s had that 4-speed auto, which like it's a solid trans, but don't buy it. Like the 96, the reason why I say that is the engine computers went to full sequential injection, and ignition, and they put the 5-speed auto in it.
Way better, yeah.
Which is way better. It's got adaptive shifting and all that stuff, so you're not going to want to kill yourself driving it.
Yeah, whereas the 4-speed's like definitely a slush box with a 12-cylinder in front of it.
Yeah, I think they made a variant for the 5 and 600s that were electronically controlled, but this was a mechanical 4-speed auto. It was a 722 4 something.
And we should note the mechanical 4-speeds are usually more reliable, but
they are. But in this case, this 5-speed, that's a transmission that was in production on like the 65 AMGs until a couple of years ago, and it's still in production for Chrysler now.
And Mercedes isn't known for having transmission issues.
No.
They're known for having all sorts of other issues, namely like air suspension and...
The transmissions of that 5-speed auto is really solid.
Yeah, so and then I think another thing on these SLs, I I know we got hammered when we sold ours at work because we didn't have any record of the wiring harness having been replaced.
Pre-94 only.
Yes. So 94 and up, they switched it. So
95 and up, they're not
95.
the biodegradable.
There you go. So up until 94, yeah. So you want the later ones are the better to get.
If you find a screaming deal on a 93 600 SL, do not buy it.
Yeah, that's gonna be the most expensive car in the world. Well, it's one of those things where, the most expensive Mercedes is the cheapest Mercedes.
Yeah, there's just no such thing as a cheap one of these, like not like a properly cheap one.
Yeah,
So
if you see one for like $1,200, like raise all
budget
the red
at least
flags.
10 grand for a nice 129.
Yeah,
But like you can get almost anything I just mentioned for 10 grand right now.
yeah. So there you go.
There
That's
you
a
go.
really.
So that's my first
really good
pick.
deal.
Second one, BMW E31.
And well, we should also note that these are hold cars. That 129.
129.
Those ones
They're not changing in value enough where I
Yeah.
want to say to buy it yet.
but you'll have a really good car to own.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean,
The other ones,
find a solid one now. Just use it.
the normal ones, would you put those on sell, or just
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Just
Get rid of your other.
yeah,
129s.
because there will be
They've come up a little bit, so
Yeah,
you're
and
gonna do okay right now.
Yeah, you're gonna do okay right now, and they'll come down. So the 500 SL, the number first car,
Yeah.
where the biodegradable wiring harness,
And like
yeah, that one's
the
gonna
peachy
be a
one,
problem.
if you just don't care, but you don't really want to throw $1 billion at it, get a 95 500 or a 320.
Yeah.
Because those don't have the biodegradable harnesses. They still have the 4-speed auto, but like that's fine,
Yeah.
and it'll be okay. But that's my first one. The second one, BMW E31. So the 850 and the 840. Those are currently still hold cars unless you get a CSI. They're appreciating, but they're just like the SL.
They're right in the middle.
They hit their little bump, and now they're just flat. So
I think they'll go up more.
they will. 100%.
Because
But you have to be careful what you're buying.
yes, you really do, because that is a minefield. Because those cars have been unappreciated for the better part of 20 years.
And there's a reason.
Yes.
Because the early 840s had cylinder delamination problems, and it's really hard to tell if your car has had it fixed or not.
You know what I would say? Just don't get an 8-cylinder. Just don't.
I will agree with you 100% on that. The only caveat I would say is if you can find a 1997 840 with the 5-speed Steptronic trans, that's fine. That's the only 840 you should buy, because you know it's not going to have any of those cylinder delam problems, and it's got the super rare Steptronic trans. So that's something that the people that like have bad hips and stuff are going to look for, but that's it.
Okay.
Other than that, you buy yourself a 6-speed 850i that's had top-end gaskets done.
Yes, that is.
And if you can afford to buy a CSI, but a CSI is not a whole car, that's a buy if you can find one for a reasonable amount of money, because those things, they're already 6 figures. So if you can find one less than that in reasonable condition, just buy
So
it.
yeah, the E31 is definitely a hold. Well, it's because it's one of those cars where we don't know what's going to happen with it. Because I think that they are going to go up, just not right now.
It's like the SL. It will go up, but like they're just not the people that are willing to spend that money on those cars to really kick off their resurgence in value. They don't have money yet.
Yeah, well, not only that, but also there's such a variance in the quality of the cars. Like
There
I
is. You
can't,
have to
I
be
can't
careful
say
with
like
everything, but-
I can't say that go out and buy an E31 because it's gonna be a good car. Like because
The vast majority of them are horrible decisions.
yeah, like the really good ones are gonna go
Like that
up in
one.
value. The normal ones are gonna stagnate to oblivion because
or lose value. Because
Yeah.
like you can't get parts for them anymore. So if you get one with like a ratty interior, you're hosed.
well, it's like one of those things where it's like what's gonna make this car worth money is Radwood, the Radwood generation. The generation of car enthusiasts that are buying the 80s and 90s cars. Because this is a car that takes the best of both worlds. You have the beautiful early 90s BMW interior. You have the pop-up headlights, which scream 80s. It's angular, but not too angular.
Right.
This is
But
like,
it has working air conditioning and heated
yes,
seats and a
it has
decent
R134A.
stereo.
Like, it's amazing.
Well, this was an R12 car, but it has been converted.
Yeah, but I mean, some of them were R134A. But it's one of those cars where, if you want a GT car
Yeah.
and you want to take it to Radwood, there's a hell of a lot worse you can get than an E31.
And it's one of the few early 90s cars, like especially like a Luxa barge, that I could hop in that car right now and drive it 2,000 miles. Like, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, especially with the 12-cylinder. And it's
The people rag on that 12-cylinder for being unreliable. It is the most reliable early 90s BMW engine.
yeah, and I think the 8-cylinders are awful, but the
They were.
12-cylinders are. The 12-cylinders are one to go
There's
with.
only one issue that happens to some of these, where
Which is?
cylinder heads are oiled over top of the camshafts with an oil bar.
Yeah.
That's fastened to the cylinder head through banjo bolts, hollow bolts.
Yeah.
From the factory that didn't tighten them enough. So if your
Okay.
car's ever had valve cover gaskets done at a reputable shop, they've tightened them. This had valve cover gaskets done it, or just before I bought it, so I know they've tightened those banjos.
Yeah.
These engines have no other issues.
So
Other than, I guess, the throttle motors. You have to, like, rebuild them every 160,000 miles. And then do the synchronization procedure, which requires no special tools.
That's nothing. That's literally nothing. But, so there you go. That's a really, really perfect example of a hold car.
It's a hold car.
Because you have that... You have a car that can have the potential of being really, really, really good, or a car that can just completely just stagnate, or even you could lose your shirt on it if you get the wrong one.
It's like the SL. It's, if you buy the right one, you can buy it relatively inexpensively, you can enjoy the hell out of it, not worry about it, put miles on it, and not lose money. And in the future, if you hold it for a while, you will make money on this car.
Yeah.
So just be
Just
careful about what
Just
you buy,
hold it.
but it's a hold car. My
Yeah.
third one, since in the interest of time, we're already at 1 hour and 10, but I'm not worried about it. I just want to touch on this briefly, and it's an odd choice for me, but the second-gen F-150 Lightning.
That's the Fast and Furious one, right?
Yeah.
The round one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can find one of those, stock condition, with no issues, nothing else matters, not appreciated really yet, but I bet it will. I bet it will.
You know what? I would actually move that into buy category.
Maybe. Yeah,
I'd
maybe
I'd
it's
put that on
past
buy.
its
I would
segregation.
put that on buy because looking at the kind of how these cars are selling,
Yeah.
the one that I'd probably say hold on if there's an American full size sports truck from the 70s or not 70s from the 90s that I would hold on.
Chevy, sorry, I almost said F-150.
The Ford F-150 Lightning first generation.
That and the 454 SS Chevy.
Actually, no. Funny enough, the 44 SS is going up in value. That's
Is
what I
it?
get into right the fuck now. Yeah.
The
I would
first gen Lightning is
absolutely-
a fascinating truck. It's not that good, but it's fascinating. So
The
that might
the
be a buy.
454 SS is like those are blowing up.
I
Right
want to
now.
say people don't buy a 454 SS, don't buy a first gen Lightning because they're not actually good vehicles.
they suck. They totally
The
suck.
second gen Lightning is actually an okay truck.
Well, that's the same. Buy it now. Wait for it to stagnate in like 2 years when people find out it's not that great, and then sell it. Yeah, that's what I would do.
I mean, you could try to ride the curve, but I wouldn't suggest that. I would buy a
It's-
second gen for the same money
yeah.
and enjoy it because it's got electronic fuel injection, it's got air conditioning, it's got one of the first years of the 97 F-150. You know, everything, the ecosystem of that
the whole
thing,
everything
and that
of it, yeah.
ethos lasted until like early 2010s. So like, it was a solid platform.
The 97 F-150 was a pretty decent truck.
It was.
The panel
Controversial
gaps
styling,
were
but
really
yeah,
disgusting.
They're not
They're
well
hard to look
put
at.
together.
They're really hard to look at.
But it's a
they're
solid
good
truck.
They're really good trucks. Yeah.
So, there you
hard
go.
to look at, but good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's something I would consider having, even
And
though
the
it's really that
vast
bad.
majority of them have been used up as gardening trucks already. So, yeah, it's either you're gonna find one that's obviously terrible,
Yep.
or you're gonna find one that's obviously good.
Yeah.
That's a really good one to
You
hold
just
on
want
to.
to find one that's been used
Yeah.
a bit and it's a survivor. Doesn't matter if it's been parked outside and the paint's screwed. That's one of those cars where you can repaint it and you don't lose value.
No, 'cause the
it's
paint's
fine.
awful
It's an
already.
F-150. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you're
nobody
going
cares.
to improve it by repainting it, I promise.
Yeah, exactly.
Make
So
sure you paint it red.
that's a wonderful hold car. Not
Anyway.
necessarily go out of your way to buy, but if you have one right now, like that's gonna be a really, really
I
awesome.
try
truck
to
own in
throw
a
some
couple
weird
years.
stuff in there. So
That's a good weirdo one.
Anyway,
Should we?
back to news.
Well, actually, I'm wondering, should we just throw these two news topics into the next episode?
Sure.
So-
Yeah, we can do that.
can
We're
do
already
that.
at 1 hour and 10.
You're an hour and 10. I don't want to take up your whole life, everyone. So yeah, we'll talk about some more news stuff.
And it is done.
Yes, on episode 116 on Wednesday, and then maybe 117 possibly if we can get Darren. Darren, our guest that we had scheduled, he was supposed to be in, but he got a flat tire and he's moving to Seattle and his whole life's tipped upside down right now. So if he can find a way to get to us or we can get to him,
We'll record it at some point. And throw it up here, so.
we will do our best to record it. If not, you'll find him on the website. He'll be doing some coverage from the Pacific Northwest for us.
Minty.
So, thank you for listening. And I
will
sound
see
a
you
little bit
later
less
this
like
week.
Ben Stein.
Yeah,
than I
you
did at
do.
the
You
beginning.
sound actually pretty normal. I'm actually a little bit disappointed. I was really hoping to have a conversation with Ben Stein. So.
I'm sorry. I usually talk out my mouth, not my nose. So on that bombshell.
Bad mental images. We will see you guys later in the
Thank
week.
you.
Thanks for listening.